saying the group delivers benefits like cleaner air and increased energy security. It's fake. That's why nobody was upset about Hunter Biden. They're like, yeah, so what if he's got all these 50 shell companies? They all have them. They're funneling billions to them.
Instead of doing his work, he's going after those of us who are actually doing the work of the American people.
$375 billion, a slush fund that was handled by John Podesta, who's very deeply embedded Democratic operative, who is very close with Hillary Clinton, and whose brother, I believe, has some of the most disgusting artwork you've ever seen in your life in his demonic household. But there was a slush fund that was sending tons of money, not only out to the AIDS doctors and USAID and elsewhere, but also to EPA individuals and people like Stacey Abrams. Look at the size of this money. And the Biden administration funneled at least $20 billion into environmental groups, many of which had been recently funded and founded. We know that this happened with Stacey Abrams. We have Senator Kennedy, who's going to explain more coming up. But in one case, Kamala handed a check of $7 billion to Bethesda, Maryland. It was a group called the Climate United Fund, which has no federal filings and doesn't appear in the IRS charities database. How is that not fraud and theft? The nonprofit fund had only been incorporated in November 30th, 2023, 5 months before they got cash. So they're like, cool, yeah, just stand up a nonprofit. You know, it's hard to get funding for a nonprofit. Those of you who've been around a while, you know, we do Eric's House, ericshouse.org. We do an annual fundraising event. You know, we raise like 50 to 75,000 bucks, and like, it's a great day for us. It's amazing. And we've been doing this work for a long time. It'd be pretty cool if we could just like open up a nonprofit and just get like $8 billion, $7 billion. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah, but we actually do good work there, okay? Not Democratic investments. So the Climate United Fund then announced the historic investment in a press release saying the group delivers benefits like cleaner air and increased energy security. It's fake. That's why nobody was upset about Hunter Biden. They're like, yeah, so what if he's got all these 50 shell companies? They all have them. They're funneling billions to them. However, because the company is so new, there's no publicly published accounting of how it plans to spend $7 billion. Projects have been announced, including $10.8 million for a pre-development loan solar project on tribal lands in Eastern Oregon and Idaho. Yeah, on tribal lands. Yeah. And $32 million of solar energy projects at the University of Arkansas. But they represent only a drop in the bucket of the grant's total amount. You know, ethically speaking, someone said it's concerning a watchdog group. What was the purpose of creating middlemen entities? When there are so many established groups in the climate space, they've already been around forever. Just go give them some money. The cash for the charity came from a huge $370 billion climate slush fund overseen by John Podesta, a political consultant of Hillary and a disgusting person, saying in 2022, Joe Biden named Podesta to head the slush fund. Last year, EPA advisor was caught on video describing how the agency hastily parceled out $20 billion, which was held by Citibank. That went out to allegedly Stacey Abrams. Now Lee Zeldin is clawing it back, trying to get that money back from the thieves. There's John Podesta, and they got tons of money. All right, so here is more on that. So they brought out Stacey Abrams, the person who was responsible for being involved in some of this. They asked her some questions, and here's what some of that sounded like.
All right, with us is the two-time nominee for governor of Georgia, Stacey Abrams. Thank you so much for being with us. He called you out by name. What's your response?
That he is trying to distract Americans from his failure to deliver on any of his promises.
What?
And instead of doing his work, he's going after those of us who are actually doing the work of the American people. I am very proud of the work that I've done to protect voting rights, to lower the cost of energy for real people in the state of Georgia, and working with organizations that want to do it around the country, because Donald Trump is failing in his promises and focusing on petty retribution instead of fulfilling his promises to the American people.
What is your connection to this organization that did get federal funding?
I led a project in Southwest Georgia that has lowered the cost of energy for struggling families, and I'm extraordinarily proud of that work. And because of that work, because of the work of 5 major organizations around this country who have done more than 250 years of service combined, the Biden administration authorized a grant. I did not work for the entity that received the grant ultimately. I worked for one of the partner organizations, but I was very much a part of pushing and showing America that we have the ability to lower prices, that the money is there, the will is there, the capacity is there. But what is not there is Donald Trump and his lackeys' willingness to actually let American people get the benefit.
I don't even know what she said, right? We're just there talking, doing things. It's very difficult to even understand what she's saying. We've got Caroline Leavitt coming up soon, but here's what Kennedy said in response to Stacey Abrams and her little shtick where she was involved but not involved, doesn't work for them, not getting any money from them, kind of over here. They're doing good work, educating people, advocating for certain things. Here's how it really went down, according to Senator Kennedy.
Here's what I see. I see two organizations in the last year or so of President Biden's administration. On their S filings, they say we have no experience, we have no accomplishments. One of them only has $100 in the bank. One of them, senior counsel, is Ms. Stacey Abrams, a well-known Democratic politician. I see them asking the President of the United States and his EPA for $2 billion cash to fight gas stoves and getting it to the exclusion of every other applicant who might have been able to use that money. Now, this is just the beginning of the type of spending porn that President Trump and Mr. Musk are uncovering, that people are screaming about. I'm going to repeat what I started with. There's nothing wrong with wanting to know what they do and did with our money. And that's all President Trump and Mr. Musk are doing.
That's all we want, is just some responsibility in our federal government, but they don't want any of that. Accountability is what exposes the grift. They need the grift to continue to prop up their fake party and their infrastructure. And now that that is coming to a close, you see them screaming at the sky because they know it is the end of the good old days where they could just get money hand over fist.